Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this special day. Today, I am Beatrice Credi from ELPA, and today I'm with Irmi Gallmeier. She's Principal Patient Partnership Director for Gastrointestinal Cancers and Liver Disease at Roche Pharma. Thank you for joining me and ELPA, Irmi, and Happy Women's Day.
Yeah, and thank you for having me today, Beatrice, and Happy Women's Day as well. I'm so glad to be with you today.
Thank you. So Irmi has been a friend of ELPA since many years, and there is a reason, because Irmi has a strong and almost 25-year history in working for and with patients group. Coming from a pharmaceutical background, Irmi joined the patient-owned German tumor biobank PATH, that is the acronym for Patients Tumor Bank of Hope, in 2002 as head of project management and a board member, driving PATH forward to be one of the world's largest repositories of both breast cancer tissue and health records to support research on novel breast cancer treatments. At that time, so we are talking about something that at that time was a unique example of a patient group contribution to both scientific research and real-world data. 6 years after, in 2008, Irmi joined Roche Pharma as one of the first fully dedicated patient care managers of the company. After various leading positions in patient partnership, she focuses on her current role on working with patients' community in gastrointestinal cancer and, of course, liver diseases, supporting and co-creating projects and material that really matter to patients and bringing in the patient's perspective into Roche's developments and solution. Thank you again. And my first question is really related to something that is common to many societies and many cultures. So it's really, generally speaking, something that we know very well, but not only women in our countries knows very well, is the fact that we tend to identify health with the feminine, because the act of caring, so caring, is still mainly related to women. So my question is, does it have an impact on your job, or do you have some example about this related to your daily or also your past professional activities?
Yeah. Thanks for asking the question, Beatrice. And for me, it's crystal clear, and I think that spans across the entire world. There are these two principles, and I call it the female principle and the male principle. And the female principle includes, you mentioned it already, caring, being empathetic, being social, being community focused. The male principle, in comparison, is more about performance, competition, power. And I'm not judging that. These are different principles. And each person has a different ratio of the principles in itself, or in him or herself. So when it comes to taking care about health as caring about diseases, which means always when you get sick, it is a status of weakness, of vulnerability that goes against the male principle, which is power. Yeah? So this is, of course, the main reason why everything which is associated to health, taking care about diseases, that is following the female principle. When it's about managing health systems, there you are again with the male principle. So this is what we see, of course, also in health systems. Yeah. So it's very often when it goes down to who cares about a person who is sick, these are primarily women, also nurses, primarily female. Yeah. When it goes to managing the disease or managing health systems, health ministers, doctors, the majority in some countries is still male, because it's again the topic about managing it. So, and it very much depends on also how a society develops with regards to dissolving these principles and allowing people, to carry both of the principles, because that's also our nature. We have all of the principles in us, so they just come up in a different way. This is personality topic, but this is also a societal topic. This is, by the way, one of the reasons why women's rights are so important, that a society allows people to develop according to their personality. But I think, and bringing it back again, this is the reason why health is still associated, or I would rather call it sickness, is still very much associated with the female principle or with women. And that is, of course, something we see in both in patient organizations, which primarily are led by women, but we see it also in specific dedicated role accordingly in pharma. And still, all of the roles in patient partnership are primarily taken by women. So this is still a topic. So it is, in the end, it's only a reflection of the entire society. What we see in pharmaceutical companies or in other companies as well. Always when it's about carrying the societal components, that is primarily female.
I remember you told me once something about a campaign you ran some years ago. I don't remember, was it about prostate cancer? Where basically, because that was just to give some practical example, of what you also you dealt with in your career or in your job.
No, it was a campaign about colorectal cancer.
Colorectal.
And in order to encourage men, well, for women, it's usually not a problem. If you tell women, in order to stay healthy, you have to go to colonoscopy latest at the age of, it depends, of course, then on the country. This is something that women follow, and they say, well, of course, I'm not allowed to eat something for one day. Come on, we as women are used to that because we go on diets almost on a weekly basis. So that's no problem to stay away from food for one day. But it was in order to encourage men to go to colonoscopy. The most successful route is to go through their wives or through their fiancés, that they encourage them to say, hey, come on, go and see the doctor, do your prevention. And I think that does not only apply for colorectal cancer, it applies for all of the preventions. It is the women behind the men that pushes the men to go to any prevention screening or whatever. So we did a campaign on that and really working mainly and addressing mainly women to encourage their husbands or their fiancés to go to colonoscopy. Very successful campaign.
So, okay. But maybe the campaign maybe was successful, but Irmi, that pushed me to think that it's again a double job for women. So I take care of my health, I take care of my husband's health. So it's again a double burden, a double. So my question is, do you think that we need to change this paradigm, evolve it, and if we change it, also women's rights and gender equality can improve?
Well, I would see that as two separate topics. The one topic around women's rights. This is something around the environment we are in. And there, of course, it needs more things to be done. It very much depends on the countries, but there are still countries on this planet where women's rights are almost not existing. So it needs way more in order to have, in the end, a society, and I'm coming back to what I mentioned before, where a personality can develop and flourish with all of its specific aspects it has. And I mentioned it also in the beginning, we all have female principles and male principles in us. And a liberal society for me, is a society where every person can really flourish, according to your personality. And if you have a man, who is very much into the caring, the societal topics, this is a person who should not be somehow bashed or whatever, because he has very female factors, but this should be accepted and B, which is way more important, be equally paid. Because still the classical caring jobs, why does a nurse earn less than a physician? It's the bloody same job in the end. Of course, it's sometimes about responsibilities and whatever, but still it is also an important job. And this is something as well where very often, in order to really move to that liberal society, it needs the two factors. And the first factor with regards to women's rights, this includes equal payments for the same job. It includes that women can do the same thing as men do, that you have, daycare for children, because it's still the same thing. When you give birth to children, very often the women are then banned to stay at home, because there is no possibility to go back to work. This is the one part with regards to women's rights. So this would be my expectation and wish to all societies, that it doesn't matter whether you are a man or a woman, you can do the same thing, which includes an equal payment. And then on the other side, it also needs a societal acceptance that we are what we are. I know a lot of women that have a lot of these male components, that are very successful drivers, leaders. And on the other hand, I know a lot of men that love to do a caring job, and this should be okay and accepted.
Thank you very much. So let's move to your area of expertise. You had already touched this a bit in your first answer. Looking back into the history of patient partnership in pharma, this was an utterly female topic. And is it related to the concept that we were trying to explain before? So the health is identified with the female and the feminine. But how is it evolving, so that we are looking back at the history, but how is now the patient partnership in pharma? Do you see any changes in this field?
You know, Beatrice, I would call it, there are 3 steps in patient partnership. And as you mentioned in the intro, I'm working on patient partnership since now almost 25 years. So I have a bit of a history. So it started, the relationship between pharma and patient organizations started with a purely transactional relationship. Pharma gave money, for the things that patient organizations are doing. This was transaction, this was patient support, step 1. Which is still a very important topic, of course. The patient organizations, they need funding from different sources. So then we turned it to patient engagement, because seeing that patients get more and more empowered and are decision makers as well. So they are relevant stakeholders, because they might decide against our beautiful solutions we are offering. So in patient engagement, that was where there was more of an engagement, where we involved patients, but it was more about, I would call it such a sort of a feel-good exercise, and a bit of a tokenism, So it is, I always say, the patient was at the center, but it's a little bit, this is now a cynical comment, it was a bit like in the zoo. The tiger is also in the center, and people are walking around and watching the tiger. And this was very often the case. So this was stage 2, which I call patient engagement. We somehow engaged with patients, but they were still not at eye level. And this is now, and this is what I see across the entire pharmaceutical industry. We are now at the stage of patient partnership, which means that we really are at the same level, that we have a seat at the same table, that we don't do these separate engagements with patients or separate patient ad boards and all of that, but we bring all relevant stakeholders at one table when it's about decision making. And of course, patients are a relevant stakeholder, if not the most important stakeholder, because in the end, they are the customers. The patients are the ones that use the medicines. The patients are the ones that have to live with the side effects. They are the true heroes. When we, for example, develop medicines, they are the true heroes of our medicines, trial patients, because they take the full risk. So this is, to summarize, this is what I saw over the course of the last, I would say, 10 to 15 years. So it started with patient support. It then went to patient engagement. And now we are hopefully in most of the companies, I can speak at least on behalf of Roche, we are now at the stage of real and true patient partnership.
That's very interesting. But are we still talking about an area where there is no gender balance? Because women are, I mean, I want to be a bit, you know, provocative in this sense, because we are always talking, you know, the other way around. So trying to reach gender balance with more women. But in your area of expertise, in your sector is mainly women working in patient partnership.
Beatrice, I will tell you a story. So there was, and this perfectly illustrates the topic of why are still only or mainly women in that area. Yeah. And this also ties into what I mentioned before. We are just coming into the era of patient partnership, where they are seen as equal partners, where also the role of patient partnership becomes more acknowledged, that there is a relevant part to the business. So we had a meeting with all of the, an internal meeting at Roche, and our CEO, our former CEO, Severin Schwan, was there. And so there was one person coming from Access. He was a guy, and he said to Severin, this is already years ago, and he said, well, Severin, as we see now that patient partnership is becoming more and more important, would that be a good opportunity and a good decision if I would move from Access to patient partnership as part of my career development? You see, here comes the male principle again, the performance, the power, the competition. And I was so excited about the answer of Severin. And he said, no, that's not a good decision. And I was like, what? And he said, you should never decide on what you want to do, with regards to what is your next career step. You would always, if you have the choice, you should always select something you are passionate about, you want to do, where you have fun, where you have fulfillment, where you have the feeling that that your work generates an impact. And that should be your driver. And I think that is what we still see, that of course, patient partnership, when it comes to the classical performance indicator, who is the most relevant in the company? Of course, then it's always the people that develop drugs or develop some solutions, and the people that sell it, because they have the clear impact. But all of the other functions, that is something that is still not seen as something that gives you a real contribution. It's a performance topic and all of that. In fact, it is, but I think there is a lot of work we have to do in order that this work is also accepted. There comes a big but with that. And the but is still patient partnership people should not be the main coming with the main male mindset, which means that it's primarily about performance and power. This is always something. Our job includes a high element of empathy, of community sense, of a sense of the bigger picture, And this is, of course, a prerequisite for a job in patient partnership for me, is that you have exactly these soft skills, because otherwise you will never be able to do a good job. In patient partnership, it's about sustainable, long-lasting partnerships, trusted partnerships. So you need all of these social skills. If you run into patient partnership with a mindset of, well, the best one will succeed, that is not the right one. So maybe that's a bit of the reason why it's still why we still have mainly women in that role, because empathy is a prerequisite for it. But this is not the only one, And I would very much love, and then coming back again to what I said in the beginning, that people just just really grow with their skills they have, and that you also allow yourself as a man to be a very empathetic, social person, and that you don't have to follow this picture of being a man who is mainly about performance and so on. So this would be also an outlook for me for the future, and it very much depends on the society, that if people really accept and develop according to their skills, according to their personality, then I'm absolutely sure, and I very much hope, that we see more men in classical female jobs and vice versa. And this includes, of course, patient partnership. But this is what we are already detecting now, that more and more men are also coming into patient partnership roles. And there it's really not only about career development and all of that. They come with a soft skill set that is urgently needed also in patient partnership. It's growing.
But basically here we are sketching a kind of perfect society where it's passion and skills that has to match with the job and with the area, and not your gender. But we are aware of the fact that for example top level jobs, or at the top of the pyramid, if we can call like that, there are still few women in that position. And there is this so-called glass ceiling where all the politicians use, and it's very fashionable now. And to break this, one of the solution, the proposed solution, is gender quotas. So I am asking you because, of course, you are working in a multinational company, so and usually gender quotas is for this huge company, at least, and board of these huge companies. So do you think that could be a solution, this artificial solution, at least at the beginning, to move to the perfect society that we were sketching before?
Yeah, Beatrice, my clear answer is yes. It needs a quota. And why does it need a quota? It's not building up something artificial. It's just to increase the push, to two different parts. The one part is to increase the push to build up the environment that women can go through that glass ceiling. And that, of course, includes an infrastructure to have possibilities for daycare and all of that. And I have to say, Roche is doing already a great job in that, having these possibilities for daycare next to the company and all of that. So it needs the infrastructure, because still most of the women are the ones that take care about the family. So somehow there must be a solution. That is number one. But what a quota also helps women is to build up courage, because very often, and I just heard last week, there was a big scandal in the German newspapers, and they said, well, there was a company that paid a woman for the same job less than a man. And you know what they said when they were accused? They said, well, but the woman didn't ask for more money. And so that was the reason why she didn't get money. So what is with a quota? What is my call to action to women is be courageous. Be courageous. Very often women hide and say, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, okay, that's fine with me. Yeah. Which doesn't mean that you have to go to the other extreme. Yeah. But be self-confident and be courageous. And the quota helps there. So to summarize, it needs two prerequisites. I'm most happy if we would not need a quota, but for now we still need it, because there has to be a clear push to build up the infrastructure, and also a push to women to become more courageous, but also potentially to the other side to better listen to women and ask them also to be more courageous. Yeah, this is a growth, but an important factor in order that we grow to an equal society is unfortunately the quota, as artificial as it looks like, but I strongly believe that it's needed.
Okay, thank you. So basically we move to this big and very difficult topic to solve. That's basically, because many feminists, Irmi, will not agree with you about quota. It's a huge, I mean, these are huge debate also among women. It's not that we all have the same idea on about our empowerment. So it's totally fine. But now I'm for our conclusion, because we are slowly getting to the end. I'm back to your personal life and to your personal experience. So looking back at your career path, no, till now, of course, is there something you would change, or you would have used a different approach, maybe to reach the same goal, but in a different way?
Honestly, Beatrice, and really, I'm very self-critical also. My clear answer is no. So all of the ways. So it was a very windy way. It was not straightforward for me. But this these were steps that were coming in a logical sense. A lot of it was accidental. But it's still, and you might realize I'm a very passionate person. So for me, always my guiding principle was the one that also Severin Schwan advised to the colleague, to say, go where your passion is. Yeah. We have the luxury in our countries. We have to be clear, the majority of people don't have the luxury to think about what their passion is. They need a job to earn money to feed their families. We have the luxury to think about and we have the choice. Yeah. So my recommendation to everybody would be, think about, what are your skills? What are you interested in? Yeah. What are you passionate about? And go there. Nowadays, we don't have that strict career paths anymore that you say, well, you study pharmacy, then you either work in a pharmacy or you go to the industry, yada, yada, yada. So there are way more roles where you don't have a clear educational or university path. And also what I was interested in my mid-20s when I came from university, that is different from what is now. So this is, be open, go with the flow, and be always also reflective to say, what is an environment also which is helpful for me, where I have the possibility to grow, where I have the possibility to generate impact. And if that environment is not there, yeah, there are two possibilities. Try to change it. Yeah. If you're not able to, no, there are three possibilities. Try to change it. If you're not able to change it, try to adapt. If you say, I don't want to adapt, I can't adapt, then the third and the ultimate solution is, then leave it. Yeah. And there is always new possibilities. I'm now at a stage where I would never have thought that I would be when I was in my mid-20s. So I thought, well, I'll go to a pharmacy, et voila, that's it. Yeah. And this is my recommendation to everybody, to be clear about who you are, what are your skills, where do you want to go to, and then make the first step. And this is nothing where you will stay for the next 30 or 50 years. Yeah, we are in a world of fast changes. So go with the flow. Don't see that as an offense to say, oh my God, the world is changing already. And again, it is a wealth of opportunity. Yeah. And just go for it, give it a try. If it doesn't work out, voila, go into another direction. That's it. And this was always my guiding principle. And of course, to be honest with you, there were highs and there were lows. Yeah. What you always have. And in the highs, enjoy the spirit, enjoy the power, and take all of that power into yourself. Because when you come to a low, you need that power in order to learn and move forward. Yeah. And the highs and the lows, all of that is beautiful, because all of that drives you forward, also the lows.
So a piece of advice we can give to a young woman who is listening to us today is enjoy the journey. Yeah. Basically.
Enjoy the journey, be self-reflective to say, who are you? Be courageous. Yeah. You are a beautiful and wonderful person. Yeah. Just go out there, go where your passion is. Yeah. And that's it. And if you fail, come on, stand up again and continue going. That's the way it is. Yeah. I failed several times. Yeah. And of course, this is something which is not nice. You are crying and all of that, but then you stand up again and say, here we go. Here I come again.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Irmi. Happy Women's Day. and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope I could inspire some of the young or elderly women and other people as well.
I'm sure you can inspire other women, for sure. Thank you very much.
And all of you, happy Women's Day.
Thank you to you too.